For as long as we can remember, boss battles have been a staple of the video game industry. Sometimes a boss fight is too easy and leaves you wanting more of a challenge, while other times a boss fight can be so infuriatingly difficult that you start contemplating life as you know it. What we often forget in the heat of the battle is the fact that there may be some secret way to defeat this boss or skip it altogether. Boss battles are a good opportunity for developers to sneak in some Easter eggs, so here are 10 video game boss secrets you had no idea about. But before we begin, hit that subscribe button to keep up to date with our amazing videos. Dark Souls 2, Sir ALONNE commits samurai suicide. Oh, Dark Souls, a game so polished yet so infuriatingly difficult. Boss battles in the Dark Souls series are no joke. The game is single-handedly responsible for many broken controllers, and possibly TV screens around the world. If the boss battle seems too easy, you better believe there will be a surprise in store for you once you get the boss down to about half his health bar. It may take you hundreds of attempts before you finally slay the beast, but the satisfaction of defeating the boss keeps you going. Sir ALONNE is known as one of the most difficult bosses in Dark Souls 2. He's the boss from the Crown of the Old Iron King DLC. Once you make your way through the treacherous memory of the Old Iron King area, you can do battle with Sir ALONNE. He is a tall, ironclad samurai who fights with honor. If you embarrass Sir ALONNE by defeating him while taking no damage throughout the entire fight, he will take a samurai sword and shove it straight through his own chest. This is known as seppuku, a suicidal ritual performed by samurais to restore honor to their name. I guess Sir ALONNE just couldn't live with the shame of being humiliated by someone half his size. You know, you kind of feel sorry for the guy. Metal Gear Solid 3, Time Defeats the End. Another series known for their epic boss battles is Metal Gear Solid. One of the most difficult bosses of Metal Gear Solid 3, Snake Eater, is the End. The End is an ancient sniper of the Cobra unit, a group of soldiers that fought against the Axis powers in World War II. He is still a very skilled sniper despite being 100 years old. The End looks like your typical video game old guy with his bald head and wizard-like white beard, but what sets him apart is his ghillie suit. Let's be honest, everything looks cooler in a ghillie suit. To defeat the End, you'll have to find a way to locate him in the dense Sacraveno forest. It is a sniper duel for the ages that requires you to use your hunting and tracking skills, but who really has time for that? If you want the End to meet his ultimate fate as quickly and painlessly as possible, all you need to do is set the internal clock on your game console a year ahead. When you load up your game, you will find the End dead from old age with his green ghillie suit now orange. He died just as naturally as the leaves change color. It's beautiful, really. Snake is such a good guy letting old age get to the End instead of a sniper bullet. Star Fox SNES, fighting a slot machine. The Star Fox series is known for having some of the most innovative video games of its time. The original Star Fox for the Super Nintendo was the first Nintendo game to have polygonal graphics, which was very impressive back in 1993. There are many areas for you to explore in the Lylat system, but there is a secret area in the original Star Fox game that has a very surprising boss: a slot machine. By completing 3 abnormal maneuvers, you can access the out-of-this-dimension level and challenge a slot machine. Sometimes being the leader of Team Star Fox gets pretty boring, so why not spruce things up with some gambling? Instead of gambling away your money, you'll be gambling away your lives. You can begin the boss fight by shooting the arm of the slot machine. Like always, the goal is to get a jackpot, which is a row of 3 sevens, so the slot machine can self-destruct. If you get 1 Andross, lasers and missiles will fly out of the slot machine and damage your R-Wing. Other combinations will allow you to heal your R-Wing or gain coins. When you defeat the slot machine, a credits minigame will begin where the player shoots letters that spell out the End. The minigame never actually ends, even after the End is spelled correctly. The credits are very reminiscent of those found in Super Smash Bros. Undertale. No save file for Flowey. Undertale is an indie game that took the video game world by storm in 2015. It was so popular that the game even won GameFAQ's Best Game Ever contest that year. Supposedly, GameFAQ's users created multiple accounts just to vote for Undertale to win the contest. But that controversy is for another day. There are 3 routes you could take to complete Undertale: a true pacifist route where you do not kill anyone, a genocide route where you kill everything you encounter, and a neutral route. In the neutral route, the final boss is Photoshop Flowey, who can only be described as a 4-eyed, thorn-covered monstrosity with a kill or be killed mentality. During this boss battle, Photoshop Flowey will constantly taunt the player. After a while, he will do the unthinkable, threaten to delete the player's save file. There's actually a save point before the battle where, when trying to save, it seems as if your data has been erased. Photoshop Flowey says he will save over the protagonist's own death, so you will not be able to reload an earlier save. If you did not make a save file throughout the whole playthrough, Photoshop Flowey will insult your intelligence by saying you were too stupid to make one. From the stem up, this Flowey is one bad man. Dead Rising 2, using armed survivors to defeat bosses. The original Dead Rising for the Xbox 360 was one of the best zombie apocalypse survival games to be released, but it certainly had its flaws. Yes, it was incredibly fun to obliterate zombies by running them over with a lawnmower, but what wasn't as much fun was the rescue missions. It was more difficult to use your time wisely and rescue as many people as you could from Willamette Parkview Mall than it was to defeat hordes of zombies. Oftentimes, when those you have saved start following you back to the security room, they lag behind and end up getting mauled by those brain-obsessed monstrosities. You kind of don't even want to bother rescuing these people if they can't even help themselves. Luckily, in Dead Rising 2, the AI got a lot smarter, and survivors no longer think that a group of zombies are their friends. The survivors you encounter are no longer a burden. In fact, you could actually assemble an army of survivors that you could find around Fortune City. Up to 8 survivors could be armed and taken into a boss fight with you. Essentially, you could become your very own video game version of Rick Grimes. This bit of knowledge can turn even the most difficult boss fights into a piece of cake. Halo 5, skip the wardens. Three's a crowd, and if you've played Halo 5, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Who didn't let out a huge sigh when they realized they had to fight not one, but 3 versions of the Eternal Warden? He's already super powerful with one-hit kill potential, has tremendous reach with his sword, and takes ages to defeat. The word fun is definitely not associated with this stupid boss battle. Luckily, there are 2 ways to avoid this tough battle altogether. The first method is pretty simple. You begin by immediately running to the left or right of the arena and boost jumping towards the floating platform you find on that side. Then you simply boost jump towards the exit and you're free from the clutches of the wardens. The second method is similar to the first. You begin by ducking to the right side of the arena and running towards the launch pad. Get on that launch pad, and once you're mid-air, aim at the platform below you and ground pound into it by pressing the melee button. You can even flip the wardens the bird on the way out. They deserve it. If you're playing Halo 5 on Legendary mode, this secret will definitely help you obtain those achievements you so desperately seek. Assassin's Creed Unity, fancy a cake boss. Have you ever walked around the beautiful digital version of 18th century France in Assassin's Creed Unity and found any pink frosted cakes? Well, it turns out these cakes are just one part of an interesting Easter egg Ubisoft decided to sneak into the game. If you find all 5 of the cakes around Paris and devour these delicious desserts, you will trigger a mysterious boss fight with a familiar foe. Who is this cake boss? Don't worry, it's not Buddy Valastro making a cameo from Cake Boss. This would be too obvious. Part of the game's E3 24 co-op trailer, Marquis de Bouillon will appear on top of a cake in the Palais de Luxembourg. Don't expect him to surrender and wave the white flag. This boss battle is quite tough. Once he's defeated, you're rewarded with a fireworks celebration, and everyone loves fireworks. It took 2 years, but YouTuber Brett from Ubi Central was able to discover the locations of the pink frosted cakes and give us a boss battle for the ages. Final Fantasy X, heal Evre Altana to death. Turn-based RPG boss battles can last a real long time. Sometimes, these boss battles can be very intense and thrilling, while at other times we start to question if we're doing the right thing or if we missed something from earlier in the dungeon, not to mention all those items you may be wasting. When battling Evre Altana in Final Fantasy X, you'll realize that the battle is taking a very, very long time. After wasting an entire day trying to defeat the Hydra Beast found in Via Purifico head-on, you'll realize that something is wrong. Hopefully you don't resort to buying a strategy guide, because no one should ever stoop that low. But if you do, you'll learn that you can break the locks near the underwater gate to escape. Sadly, doing so will prevent you from obtaining some solid counterattack weapons. If you decide instead to look at a walkthrough online, like any sane person would do, you would realize that the solution is not at all what you would expect. The best alternative is to simply use 2 Phoenix Downs or 2 X potions on the water monster to defeat it. Talk about taking too good to be true to another level. Who knew that healing items would be the bane of such an intimidating boss? Fallout, using intelligence and charisma to convince the master to end his life. Ah, Fallout. The Fallout series has come a long way from its humble beginnings. From the often forgotten original Fallout on PC to Fallout 4, the series has grown tremendously in both popularity and quality. The final boss of the original Fallout is the Master. He is an interesting character to say the least, as he is 1 part human, 1 part mutant, and 1 part computer. The Master wants to create a master race of super mutants, but he also has normal people working for him as spies across the wasteland. He is quite controversial as he has both worshippers and haters. He and Kanye West seem to have that in common. He's like the Kanye West of the wasteland. Kanye Wasteland. When the final confrontation between your character and the Master begins, most players will resort to violence to defeat him. It turns out that with the right stats and speech and charisma to go along with an autopsy report from the Brotherhood of Steel, you can convince the final boss to kill himself. Your character will tell the Master that the super mutants are all sterile and will die off in the next next generation. Now that the Master's plans are foiled, he will take the easy way out using nukes, so you better hightail it out of there before he takes you out with him. The Legend of Zelda, Twilight Princess. Defeat final boss Ganon with a fishing rod. You've traveled through every inch of Hyrule from the Faron Woods to the Snow Peak ruins. You've defeated all kinds of foes with the power of your Master Sword from Diababa to Argarok. You've done everything there is to do in The Legend of Zelda Twilight Princess, but have you beaten Ganon using the almighty fishing rod? Yes, that is correct. You can beat the final boss of Twilight Princess using a fishing rod, but you will have to get to phase 4 of the fight before you can truly humiliate Ganon. Once the one-on-one sword fight begins, simply cast the lure of your fishing rod. Ganon will be completely dumbfounded by the lure, leaving him wide open for attack with your Master Sword. I guess bringing a fishing rod to a sword fight isn't a bad decision after all. Seeing Ganon stop what he's doing mid-battle to stare at the lure of a fishing rod may be one of the funniest things you'll ever see, so try it out. Who knew that the weakness of the man known as the King of Darkness would be a measly little fishing rod? Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you have any more video game boss secrets you'd like to share, leave them in the comments section below. Also, if you haven't already, don't forget to hit that subscribe button to see more videos like this in the future. See you next time.